Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I am Braden. This is Langley Outdoors Academy, the place where we not only talk about what's going on in the gun world, but also how we're going to fix it together. And the content that I want to cover tonight is Matt Hoover's arrest and now conviction for some things that are extremely questionable. We've got to talk about this. This is something that could affect every single one of us on the YouTube side, but also on the civilian side, because it goes back to a root cause understanding around definitions and enforcement of existing law, whether constitutional or not constitutional. This is one you're going to want to see. Here are my thoughts. Everything will be linked if there's anything that is necessary, and I hope that you guys leave a comment field below and either support or just your opinion, because this is a sticky one. And if you are new or you're a returning viewer, please consider hitting that like button, subscribing to the channel, and making sure you turn the notification bell on. We need as many of you as possible to get into the fold to help spread information just like this to potentially help someone and change the Second Amendment world for the better and pass it on to the next generation. Thank you so much in advance for your consideration, and this content is brought to you by BattleCatCo. Now, BattleCatCo is a Virginia-based merch warrior brand. This is a brand that prepares you for whatever you want to do at the range or working in the yard. They support the concept of being an asset for our country, communities, friends, and families. Through lifestyle gear aimed at training and spreading the message of the 2A, BattleCatCo is gear that makes a statement for your next day at the range or your everyday warrior wear. And there's a link in the description box below, and thank you so much to BattleCatCo for sponsoring this content. Now, my brothers and sisters, we got to talk about someone named Matt Hoover. Now, I have been very reluctant to speak too much on this on my channel for the simple reason that it could affect the outcome of the case. Now, one of the things that's really important to understand is during a pending trial and during a pending investigation, anything that is said on the internet can be twisted and used against a defendant the exact same way that raising funds for a defense can be twisted and tied into conspiracy to commit a felony. And that's why I've been kind of at an arm's length. I've been watching very closely, but it's one of those things that I want to give the individual the best chance possible without adding something to the mix that was not of their doing that would only complicate things. Now, the simple fact is he has just been convicted of 17 counts of felony. Basically, the idea was he enabled machine gun conversion kits to be sold to the open market. That's the very high level. And there's two pieces to this, okay? And here's how this factors in, because there's two individuals. There's a person with the last name of Irving, who is the actual manufacturer of something called a lightning card link, or this is a little card that the ATF is proposing that is a machine gun because it can be manufactured into one. And then on the other side, you've got Hoover, who's CRS Firearms on the YouTube channel, who is basically arrested for providing funds or marketing that item that was then confirmed to be a machine gun from the ATF. Again, this is their stance, not mine. In my personal opinion, that doesn't make it a machine gun, and that's really where it gets down to the crux of the problem. This is coming into readily convertible. This is the exact same language in the 1968 Gun Control Act that they leveraged to use the ghost gun rule, to use the Biden pistol brace rule. All of these things that they've done through the executive bureaucracy of the ATF have been through redefinition or stretching definitions of existing law. They didn't pass new laws through Congress. They reinterpreted and used definitions, whether new or conventional, to get their outcome. And that's where we find ourselves. So, Irving was essentially selling this piece of equipment that the feds would say is a machine gun. That's not what I'm making this about right this second. I'll get to that in a second. The part where CRS Firearm gets involved, and this is the part that's much more concerning, is because there was actual marketing and because there was a fundraising effort to help an individual in their case. Now you're talking about a conspiracy because money changed hands towards the manufacturer of a machine gun conversion, which we all know is not. That's the crux of the problem, is what the ATF or the federal government is calling machine gun is a piece of metal. Again, readily convertible is coming back to bite us right in the butt. We'll get to that in a second. The thing that I have a question now, if this is the scenario, if it's considered conspiracy, what Hoover did that they convicted him of, if that's conspiracy of marketing for something that could be considered a machine gun, what does that mean to every single YouTuber, every single advertising firm, every single magazine that recommended the wide open triggers or the rare breed triggers or the FRTs? What does that mean? Because the ATF and the feds are now calling those things machine gun conversions as well. So does that mean every single person that had anything to do with that is now guilty of conspiracy to sell machine gun conversion parts? I think the interesting part to that is, of course they aren't. They didn't do that. They sold a product that was approved by the ATF. So if they're selling something that's approved by the ATF and other YouTubers or marketers are operating from a perspective of see this, check it out if you want to see it, how can that be their fault as well? And that's kind of where it gets into the murky game. If you're tying something with that loose of a definition and essentially nailing CRS Firearms or Matt Hoover to the wall for conspiracy to create felonies through selling of machine gun conversions, that's a pretty loose definition that can be applied in a pretty negative manner. Now, let's back it out a little bit further. We're talking about what the ATF has deemed a machine gun. Again, obviously, a piece of metal with a drawing on it which makes something do something if you actually manufacture it is no different than if you manufacture an AR-15 to be full auto. It's the same concept. A piece of metal isn't a firearm until you convert it into one. It's the same argument they've used for ghost guns, like I mentioned, for readily convertible into a firearm. This is the exact same game. The only problem is Hoover got pinched because something that he was recommending was used as a machine gun in cases that were pretty subjective. And you can't actually prove that Matt Hoover did anything to sell machine guns. Now, Matt Hoover is facing down 45 years now because of an incorrect definition through readily convertible and Chevron deference of the ATF that someone else was selling. The lines and the jumps here are pretty weak. Now, where does that leave us? Again, I don't want to do anything that's going to interfere with his appeal. I don't want to do anything that could harm his family through that process. So I'm trying to keep as high level as I can. But the bottom line here is we now have a system and an environment in which the lines of conspiracy to committing felonies have just gotten drawn so thin and proven and convicted. This is something that should give pause to every single American. This is not something that should just worry YouTubers or people who run marketing campaigns on magazines. This should worry every single American because now any type of advertisement could potentially be used against you to prove conspiracy on something that's legal today and could be illegal tomorrow. This is another case of the retroactivity of bans, illegality, and all those things that can have extremely negative impact on freedom, not to mention the individual's future, their family's future, all these things. And that's kind of where we're at. I wish the personal best to Matt Hoover and his family. I don't know how I can be directly involved without impacting anything that they're working on, but I will be following it very closely, and that's kind of where I'm at. That's what's going on from my perspective, and let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I'll see you on the next one. I'm Braden. See you later.